Hello my loves and welcome back to my hair channel. Where do I begin? I feel like it has been forever since the last time I spoke to you guys. The last time you guys saw me, I was dealing with my allergies. Thankfully, that is over now. I seem to be pretty much back to normal. But as you guys know, because of my allergies, I wasn't able to upload a video last week. So it feels so weird. I feel like I haven't been filming in ages. So as some of you may know, I was in LA. I just came back from LA less than 36 hours ago. My husband had a business conference there for the first couple days that we were in LA, and we wanted to extend our trip so that we can spend some time together. Unfortunately, the trip turned into an absolute nightmare. The first couple days, I didn't even see my husband for the most part because he was at his business conference, obviously. During that time, I was just out with my cousins because my cousins live in LA, and I also met up with one of my friends that lives there now. And as soon as my husband's conference ended, we planned on spending just some one-on-one time together. The first day that we spent time together was absolutely amazing. We went to Santa Monica, to Venice Beach. We spent the whole day together. It was a beautiful day. And then about 10 minutes after we finished our dinner, my husband told me that he started to feel lightheaded and as if he was going to pass out, and told me to call the ambulance. I, of course, had a complete panic attack because I had no idea what was going on. The whole day was just amazing. We didn't get into an argument or anything. We were just having a perfectly calm, relaxing dinner. Everything was going perfectly fine. And then out of nowhere, my husband started to go downhill. So I tried to stay as calm as I possibly could. We had an ambulance come to the restaurant. They checked his vitals. They checked his blood pressure. They checked so many different things. His blood pressure was very elevated, and he said that he started to feel worse and worse and worse. So at that point, I started panicking. I wanted to make sure that my husband was okay, so we decided to go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital in Santa Monica, and while we were waiting in the emergency room, my husband just started to get worse and worse, and I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. I was trying to get the nurse to hurry things up so that he can see a doctor faster. We were waiting in the emergency room for about an hour or an hour and a half total. And while we were in the emergency room, he ended up vomiting. And thank God, right after he vomited, he started to feel so much better. And at that point, I realized that it's probably a stomach flu. Before that, I kind of thought that his symptoms might be related to a heat stroke because we were outside all day long and we were bike riding on Venice Beach. So I thought maybe, he was dehydrated, or maybe he was out in the sun for too long. But it turns out that it wasn't that. It's just a really, really bad stomach bug. So finally, after waiting in the emergency room for about an hour and a half, they finally took us in and we were able to see a doctor. They ran a bunch of blood work on him, a bunch of other tests. They said everything is completely fine. He's 100% healthy. They gave him a bunch of IV fluids. They gave him an anti-nausea medication, and that seemed to help him out a little bit. So we stayed in the hospital for about 3 or 4 hours just to make sure that he felt much better. And when he did feel much better, the doctor discharged him and we went back to our hotel in LA. When we got back to our hotel, we thought everything was going to be fine because he didn't feel nauseous in the car on the way there, and everything seemed to be okay. He was just a little bit weak, but we thought that that was normal because he was vomiting in the hospital. So we tried to go to sleep, and unfortunately he couldn't fall asleep because he just started to get worse again. He was tossing and turning in bed, then he started to feel nauseous again, and he was vomiting again. It was just an absolute nightmare because I had no idea what to do. I felt completely helpless. I've never been in a situation before where I had to take care of someone that I love and just not know what to do about it. Finally, after vomiting a few times, he started to feel better again. We went to sleep. We maybe slept 2 or 3 hours, if that at all. And the next morning, we were supposed to head out to La Jolla, which is about a 2.5 hour drive from LA. And we decided that in the morning, we would kind of reevaluate the situation and see if whether we would fly home early or if we would still go to La Jolla. So my husband really, really wanted to go to La Jolla. It's a place that he's wanted to visit for many, many years now. And that's what we did. So we went to pick up the car that we rented to drive to La Jolla. And the plan was that he would drive because he is a much more experienced driver than I am. So he decided at the time that he was comfortable with doing that because he felt pretty much fine. We didn't even go 15 minutes of him driving before he started to feel sick again. So I told him, there is absolutely no way you are driving to La Jolla. I'm gonna drive. Luckily, it was a really easy road and I was totally fine. I was totally alert. I don't know how I was totally alert considering I barely slept slept the night before, but I managed to get to La Jolla safe and sound. There were no issues or anything, and my husband was really, really happy that we were able to do that. So we checked into our hotel in La Jolla. Everything seemed again like, you know, he was getting better. We even went out for dinner that night. He had a very light dinner because I knew that when you are vomiting, you need to keep your diet very, very simple for several days until your stomach can handle it. So I made sure that he didn't eat anything fatty or acidic or anything that would basically upset his stomach some more. So he just had some like chicken, plain chicken, no skin or anything, with some mashed potatoes, no dairy, nothing like that. And he seemed fine. Everything was fine. We went to bed. We both had a good night's sleep. And then in the morning, he felt like he was well enough to take a 5-minute walk with me to a restaurant nearby our hotel just to have some breakfast. And again, he kept things light, just some like toast, scrambled eggs, very, very simple. After we ate breakfast, he told me that he started to get a headache. And I thought maybe, okay, it's caffeine withdrawal because you haven't had caffeine for the last couple days because you were sick. Maybe, you know, it's just a temporary thing. It will go away. He said, you know what, it's getting worse and worse. I think I want to go lie down. So we walked back to the hotel. He laid down and he wanted to take a nap, and then basically everything started all over again. But this time it came back with 10 times the force. My husband was vomiting all day long. This was on Tuesday, today is Saturday, and we were supposed to leave LA on Thursday. So as you can imagine how stressful the situation was. We just arrived in La Jolla, a place that he's wanted to visit for so many years, plus we were leaving on Thursday morning. So both of us had very, very high anxiety from the situation, and obviously I felt absolutely helpless because I didn't know what I can do to make him feel better. So he was vomiting the whole day, and it got to a point where I was literally terrified for his life because it just would not stop no matter what we tried. I tried acupressure on him. I got him anti-nausea medication from the drugstore. I tried so many different things and nothing was helping, and I felt like it was just getting worse and worse and worse, and I started to panic. So I told him, you know what, we can't continue to do this. You need to go to the hospital. You need, you know, to see a doctor. Something needs to be done. So that's what I did. I called a doctor first to see if we can get a doctor into the hotel room to try to check him and see if they can give him like a stronger anti-nausea medication to stop the vomiting, but unfortunately that didn't work out. So I ended up calling the ambulance again. So the ambulance came again. They checked all his vitals seemed okay, but again his blood pressure was higher than normal. Obviously the both of us at that point were so freaked out. We didn't know what it was, so I told him, you know what, it's better to be safe than sorry. Let's go to the hospital again. So we went to the hospital, and this time we went to the hospital in La Jolla, and thank God we didn't have to wait in the emergency room as long as we had to in Santa Monica. They were able to take him literally within 5 minutes, and he was able to see a doctor within 10. The doctors and the nurses there were absolutely incredible. They took the best care of him. They gave him IV fluids, anti-nausea medication, anti-anxiety medication, which I'm not gonna lie, I probably needed at that point as well. And they also gave him Tylenol 3. So the combination of all of those things made him feel so much better. But obviously the poor guy, he was so weak and exhausted from the whole day of vomiting and not eating so much for the last few days. So we just stayed there for 5 hours until all of his vitals basically came back to normal. He felt like he had a little bit more energy, that he could walk, because at that point he wasn't even able to walk. So it was just a complete nightmare. I personally have never been so terrified in my entire life. My husband is my best friend. He is my world. He is my everything. And I'm not gonna lie, at one point I really thought that was it. I thought that, you know, he's not gonna make it. I wasn't even able to control myself when I was calling the ambulance because I was just so panicked and so freaked out that there's a chance that he might not be able to make it. I couldn't even speak clearly. I was yelling at the poor lady that was on the other line with me, telling her, please, can you just stop asking me these stupid questions and get an ambulance here as soon as possible. It was just horrible, and I cried in the ambulance all the way to the hospital. I have never been so stressed out in my entire life like I was this past week, and I'm just so thankful that he's okay, that everyone is healthy, that we're back home, that he's getting better. Unfortunately, our trip did not go as planned, but at the end of the day, everyone is healthy, and that's all that matters. Honestly, sometimes things like this just have to happen in our lives to remind us about how precious life is and to live every moment to the fullest. And now that I'm back home, I just want to focus on the things that make me happy, which is my husband, my family, and just enjoying a life as much as I possibly can. So yeah, that was my little update. Unfortunately, it's not a positive update, but I hope that my story will inspire some of you and just remind you guys to live your life to the fullest, because you never know what will happen tomorrow. I can't tell you how much I missed filming, you guys. I feel like it has been an eternity, so I'm just going to hop right into the video. Today's video is basically a step-by-step guide on how to master any boho hairstyle. You guys seem to love when I do boho hairstyles and always ask me how I come up with them. So I'm going to be showing you the basic techniques that I use so that you can try them out for yourself and come up with your own boho hairstyles like this. So without further ado, if you want to know my ultimate guide on mastering boho hairstyles, then please keep watching. So the first thing I do before creating any boho hairstyle is to prepare my hair by adding texture to it. So this is my hair dried naturally. I just let it air dry completely. I didn't do anything to it other than put a little bit of hair oil through the ends. And what I like to do is also add some wefts from my fancy hair extensions. This is just going to add some volume and length to my hair and also help me out with adding a little bit more texture to the hair. So I have some wefts that I mixed together from the milk chocolate brown set and the mocha brown set, and I do this because my hair is still in a weird in-between color right now. So I'm going to be mixing in some mocha brown extensions towards the bottom where my hair is darker and focus more of the milk chocolate brown wefts closer to the top where my hair is lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and clip in my fancy hair extensions and come back and show you how I style them to get the boho texture that I want. Okay, now that I clipped in my fancy hair extensions, I'm going to style them with my 1-inch curling barrel by T3. This is the Whirl Trio, and of course before I do that, I'm going to apply the Bumble and Bubble Hairdresser's invisible oil to my hair just to protect it from heat damage. So I'm always concentrating this stuff on the ends of my hair, and any leftover I finger comb through the rest of my hair. So now for styling my hair, I'm going to be taking about 1 to 1.5 inch sections of hair and wrapping them around my 1-inch curling barrel. I'm going to be styling them the exact same way as I style them for my everyday beachy hair wave routine. If you guys have not seen the video that I did before this one, it is the exact same thing. So for those of you who have not seen it, I'm quickly going to just verbally repeat the technique to you guys so that you know what I'm doing. So I'm going to take one section and start curling it around the curling barrel, and as you can see, I left out the top couple of inches at the roots and I left out about 1 inch or 2 at the ends. And now I'm going to hold this piece of hair on the curling barrel for about 10 to 15 seconds. And once the time is up, I'm going to release the curl and then tug on it a little bit so that it dries in more of a wave type shape rather than a curl. And when you let go, it should look something like this. So as you can see, it's like a beachy, tousled type wave with ends that are pretty straight. So I'm going to repeat this technique with the remaining hair, and I'm going to be alternating the directions of the curl as I go. So for the first curl, I curled it away from my face. For the next one, I'm going to curl it towards my face. So it's the same technique, I'm just alternating the direction of the curl. And also don't worry about having the strand of hair lay perfectly flat against the barrel. If you have a little bit of twisting going on, that's perfectly fine. That's just going to add a little bit more texture to the curl itself. So when all of the waves are combined, they all have a unique texture to them. And then pull on the ends and let go. So again, I'm just repeating the same steps as in the beginning. So take a 1 to 1.5 inch section of hair, wrap it around the curling barrel, and this time I'm going away from the face again and hold it for 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same steps with the remaining hair, speed this part up, and then show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, now that I finished styling my hair, what I'm gonna do now is run my fingers through it and add a little bit more texture to it with this product over here. This is the KMS Add Volume Root and Body Lift Spray. So all I'm gonna do is spray it in between my hair, and this is going to add some grit and texture and just make it look a little bit more messy and undone. The thing you always want to remember with creating boho hairstyles is that boho basically means relaxed, undone, messy, effortless. Basically, you want to make it look like you didn't put a lot of effort into it. And ironically, you actually have to put a lot of effort into doing that. So as you can see, after I run my fingers through my hair and I added some of that texture spray into it, it's looking a lot more beachy and boho and more natural. The curls are no longer tight and coiled, and it almost looks as if my hair just dried like this naturally. My next tip for creating any boho hairstyle is to pick up a few of the tools that are essential in creating boho hairstyles. So you definitely want to get a bunch of bobby pins. Now this is a pack of bobby pins that I get from Amazon. These are 2-inch black bobby pins by the brand called Diane. They're very, very inexpensive. I think they're about $5 or $6 for a pound. Then you also want to invest in some high quality hair elastics. I personally like the clear ones or the ones that match your hair color because they blend in with your hair really, really well, and it hides any of the work. And the last thing, it's completely optional, but if you want to really add that wow factor to your boho hairstyles, I'd recommend picking up some boho accessories. These are little bobby pins that have these beautiful flowers attached to the head, so it just adds a little bit of extra something to your boho hairstyle. Okay, let's talk about braiding. Some of my favorite boho hairstyles involve braiding, and there is a certain technique in braiding a boho type of braid that really gives it that unique, undone, and effortless vibe. The key with boho braiding is just to have fun with it and not to overthink it too much. So I have no idea what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to start braiding and see basically where it takes me. So I'm going to toss my hair to the back. Another tip that I like to give is to let loose some of the face framing pieces around your face, because these pieces will make the hairstyle look more undone. They will also frame your face and really finish off the entire look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a chunk of hair from the top of one side, and I'm going to start braiding a Dutch braid. So to braid a Dutch braid, you just want to separate the working section into 3 strands. Take one of the strands, cross it under the middle, then take the other strand and cross it under the middle. Now every time I'm going to cross the side strand under the middle strand, I'm also going to pick up a small section of hair and add it into that strand. So now I'm creating a French Dutch braid. So this means that the braid will be attached to my head. So as you saw, I just took this side strand, put it under the middle. Now I'm taking another strand of hair from the outside of the braid and adding it to that strand. And I'm just going to repeat these steps until I get to about the back of my head. And then when I get to that point, I'm just going to braid a regular Dutch braid and tie it off with an elastic. So I'm going to stop about here and then braid down with a regular Dutch braid up until right here. Now I'm taking one of my elastics and tying off the end. And now I'm going to go in and gently pull out the side sections of the braid. This is called pancaking, and this is another technique that is very popular with boho braids. It basically fans out the braid, makes it look thicker, but it also makes it look more undone and effortless. So this is a very, very signature basic move, and it's very easy to do. The main thing you want to remember is to pull out on the sides of the strands. You don't want to pull from the middle because then you're just going to create a gap in the braid. So make sure that you pull on the outside of the strands. That way your braid will stay intact and you'll get that beautiful pancaking effect. And you also don't want to pull out on the braid too much, otherwise you're going to mess it up too much and it's not going to hold its shape anymore. So I'm going to stop about here. So as you can see, this step alone has made a huge difference in this braid and it definitely looks a lot more boho now. So I'm going to make the same braid on the other side. Alright, so now that I have my two braids, I have several options. So I could leave the hairstyle as it is now, which is a super cute hairstyle with just two Dutch braids going along the sides. Or I can take the Dutch braid and I can connect them at the back of my head. Now, when I connect them at the back of my head, I have another couple options. So I'm going to show you one of them. So what you can do is take another hair elastic and tie the braids together at the back of your head. So here I'm going to remove the elastics that I used before to keep those two braids together, and I'm going to unravel the braid. And I always like to go in and just touch up my braids, make sure that they didn't get ruined when I was tying them together. So this feels good, and I always run my hands over my braids just to make sure that everything feels right. So now what I'm going to do is pick up a chunk of hair from the underside of my braid, and I'm going to take another elastic and tie it around the base of that. And I'm kind of going to make a messy bun. So I looped my hair, and I'm going to take the remaining hair and wrap it around the base of the elastic. And I'm going to loop the ends through my hair over here. There's really no rhyme or reason for me doing this. I just want to make this bun messy, and I'm going to fan it out, and to keep everything in place, I'm going to pin it down with a couple of bobby pins. I am so sorry, guys. Apparently my neighbor thought that now would be a good time to mow the lawn. Doesn't he know that I'm filming? Okay, hopefully this is not too distracting. I would like to continue filming. So one of the next tips I wanted to give you was take your phone and turn the camera onto yourself and take a photo of the back of your head. This way you can see what's going on at the back of your head. You can see what you need to fix if you don't like something or whatever. I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. I always like to take a couple more just for extra insurance. Everything looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with the way this messy bun turned out. So if you want, you can leave it like this, or you can add some braids going down the side. There's really no rules for what you can do. All right, now I want to show you another option that you can do. So I'm going to take apart this messy bun. I'm going to take this ponytail that I created when I attached those two braids together, and I'm going to clip them on the top of my head for now, just so that they're out of the way. Then I'm going to pick up a chunk of hair from underneath that, and I'm going to braid this chunk of hair into just a regular 3-strand braid. Right, I'm going to stop about here and tie it off with an elastic. And of course, I'm going to go in and pancake the braid. Another tip I wanted to give you guys is don't braid the braids too tight. Otherwise, you're going to be very difficult to pull apart, and they're not going to have that effortless boho look. Now that I have my braid, I'm going to release the ponytail that I clipped away earlier, and I'm going to create an opening in the top of the braid that I just braided, and I'm going to fish that ponytail through that opening. And this technique is going to make it look like these braids are incorporated into this bottom braid over here. So it's going to give it a very interesting look. And of course, I'm just readjusting things just to make sure everything looks cohesive. So you can leave things as they are, or you can take it one step further and you can take random sections of hair. You can start pulling it through random spaces in the braid. There's really no rules when it comes to boho hairstyles. Actually, the more creative you are, the more funky the braids turn out and the more unique they turn out. And I find that no matter how many times I recreate a similar look or the same boho hairstyle, they never end up looking exactly the same. Another thing that I like to do is take a section of hair from the bottom of the ponytail and wrap it around the base of the elastic a couple times just to cover it up, and then you can secure it with a bobby pin in the back. And lastly, I think I'm going to add a few of these flower bobby pins just to add a little bit more of a different vibe to this whole braid. I always find that cute little accents like this just spice up the hairstyle instantly. And feel free to put them in random spots. You don't have to put them exactly where the braid is. And that's it. Okay guys, so that's all I have for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed this type of video, and I hope it gave you some confidence to try out any type of boho hairstyle on your own and come up with your own boho hairstyles. Honestly, I love creating boho braids because they are literally foolproof. So even if you're a beginner to braiding, the messier they are, somehow the better they look sometimes. If you are new to my channel and you don't know, I do have a second channel where I do things that are related to beauty, like skincare, makeup tutorials, beauty hacks, makeup hacks, DIYs. So if you're interested in checking that out, click the link over my head over here and it'll take you right on over to my second channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I will see you in my next one. If you guys are new to my channel, seriously, you've been mowing the lawn for an hour.